I'm extremely upset, and I demand an apology from South Africa for the unfortunate xenophobic, tribalistic, coloristic, apartheidic discrimination it has put out against a woman. Back in that picture, you can see Miss Chidima Adetshina, who was ejected out of that Miss South Africa Beauty Competition 2024 because they said she's not South African enough. And they've ended crowning Miss Mia Leroux, who they termed South African enough, who's of European descent. Now, the optics of this is just not good. Okay, the optics is just not good. You decide to say that a South African woman, Vanessa Chidima Adetshina, whose father was Nigerian, whose mother was from Mozambique, born in Soweto 2001, is not South African enough. Born in Soweto. And you harass Vanessa so badly. You question her South Africanicity until they somehow find some kind of problem with the mother, or she somehow had some kind of fraud. I don't even know what it is. That there's so much blackmail that Vanessa had to get out of the race. Now, this is really sad. My name is Pastor Ssempa. I want to talk to you about what's on my mind here in Africa today. I think that even though South Africa attained independence back in 1994 and dismantled the system of apartheid, which made white good and black bad, white citizen, black second-hand class citizen, European descent, good, African descent, bad. I think that even though that government and that system was outlawed, it still exists very much in the head of the South Africans. And I want to explain why. It first came on my radar back in 2018, 2019, when a South African of Ugandan descent, okay? You can bring up that picture. She was called Nayimuli. You know, Nayimuli is very close to my daughter, Abigail Deborah Namuli. Nayimuli was also one of the competitors of the South African Miss Beauty pageant. But they said she wasn't South African enough because her dad was from Uganda, where my home is. And so Nayimuli was forced to get out of the Miss South Africa Beauty pageant. Now, I'm like, what is this? They say, oh, her dad was Ugandan. Yes, her mom is South African. But yes, she was born in South Africa. But for us, we don't consider people South African. Even if they are born in South Africa, they have to have South African blood. What is that? What is that? Now, that same demon of xenophobia has come again in 2024. When Vanessa Chidima Adetshina, a South African of Igbo, the father was Nigerian descent, and the mother was a South African of Mozambican descent. And they produced this daughter, Chidima Vanessa Adetshina, in 2001. She's Gen Z. She's a millennial, like my son, Makai. And now she's being denied status that she's not a full South African. Therefore, she cannot compete in the beauty contest of South Africa. This is unthinkable to me. What's wrong with you, South Africans? I mean, they even have the audacity to say that Adetshina's mother may have come to South Africa illegally. Guess what? Who fought for South Africa? Go back a little bit of history. That is 1994, when South Africa attained independence. It was the frontline states. It was Uganda. Starting when I was young, Idi Amin, he was saying, let's go fight for South Africa. We were frontline state. We brought South Africans from South Africa, brought them here to train them, both in ideology and military, to go and fight. And our soldiers went there. Tanzania, Mwalimu Nyerere. I mean, what would Nyerere say now? What? He hated tribalism. If you watch his speeches, you may not understand that. My stick fell down as I talked about Nyerere. That must be a good sign. Put it back. Nyerere hated tribalism. Mozambique was a frontline state because that's where people trained to go and fight in South Africa. That's how it is. That's why apartheid, which said white was good, black was bad, ended as a system of government. Mozambican came to South Africa illegally to fight for South Africa's independence. You cannot pay them back. You cannot pay them back by shaming the daughter of Mozambican parents. No, you can't. You cannot. Now, South Africans have crowned Miss Mia Leroux. Miss Mia Leroux is white. Okay, she's deaf. But she's legitimately South African. However, she's of European descent. Now, I tracked down, Mia Leroux is of the family of the Huguenots. The Huguenots was French Protestants who were in a bloody massacre, a Holocaust by the French Catholics, killed hundreds, thousands of French Protestants because they just did not want to have any Protestants in France. I mean, that's the xenophobia, that's the doctrine, religious fanaticism. They killed the Huguenots. I read about it in my history and I shared it. I still think the French owe the whole world and the Huguenots a great apology. Because just as Hitler killed the Jews in Germany, Poland, Russia, even the French killed the Huguenots. And some, out of persecution, they settled in America, and some settled in South Africa. So they are part of the original settlers, many years. We're talking about 1660, 1690. That's about 400 years ago. So you cannot say they are not South African. They are South African. But what I find extremely distressing is that this pattern of xenophobia, this pattern of considering Africans second-class citizens by fellow blacks is being perpetuated and no one is calling them out. I mean, we've respected Julius Malema, Nelson Mandela. In my Pan-African classes, boy, we talk a lot about this. We talk about Ubuntu. We talk about how we are one people. How can we be one people and you keep shaming and throwing out the Africans of Uganda, the South Africans of Ugandan descent and Nigerian and Mozambican descent who fought for you? What's wrong with you? And there is a way in which you're fighting to keep the Africans out of South Africa. I think there's a word that you use of foreigners to ridicule, to mock, to consider them non-people. You deny our humanity. You're the same people who allowed to make a law by 2001, the Assignment of Sex Act, where you can say a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man. But as a black child born in South Africa cannot be South African? What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you? Somebody gotta call you out. Now, Chidima Adetshina, Igbo, This name Adetshina seems like it's Yoruba or Igbo, but it means crown makes the way. The crown makes the way for them. Just South Africa just denied the crown. My goodness, you denied Chidima a crown. Shame on you. Now, there is this, I married an American wife. She's white, and you may say, Pastor, you don't have anything to say about this issue because you married a white woman. It's true, I married a white woman, but it was a choice that I said, God, I didn't even know. I said, God, you choose the woman I will marry because you have plans for me. I don't know. I could have married a Chinese. I could have married an Australian. I could have married a Uganda from many different tribes. Of course, I couldn't marry a woman from my clan of the Baganda. I'm from the Baganda clan of the Manke in Chima. I can't marry from that. But marrying a white woman has given me insights into the way in which sometimes we still have the colonial mindset that white is good and black is bad. I was at Entebbe airport not too long ago, and we were lining up. I was in front of my wife and she was behind me. And the guy at the airport decided that he would give my wife, call her to come in front, jump the line and get ahead of me. And my wife said, no, he's my husband. He goes ahead of me. God bless you, Tracy. I actually felt like going, nye, 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 nye. Calionzo, Milo, Milo. This guy was ashamed. My wife said, no, my husband is ahead of me. He's first. He's preeminent. Serve him first. There's a way in which South Africa, you've overcome apartheid as a system of government, but it still remains in your head. You still think that white is good and black is bad. Why would you think that Trevor Noah is South African? His dad is Swedish, I think Swedish or Swiss, and his mom is South African. Is it because he's light-skinned? Huh? Is it because Trevor Noah is light-skinned that, Trevor Noah, or is it because he's popular already? Why won't you be equal? If you're going to be consistent, be consistent. You even have your politicians whose names I will not mention now because their parents also, you've allowed them to be politicians, to hold high political office. Similar in the case to Chidima Adetshina. By the way, she's studying international relations at the University of Pretoria. She certainly can write a PhD of first-hand experience of discrimination. Yeah, I think Chidima, you need to do your bachelor's, master's and write about the racism that you have faced in South Africa. It's 2024. Apartheid ended in 1994. That's exactly 30 years ago. A generation is usually 40 years when a new group of people come. What's surprising to me is how much of internalized apartheid is there. And sometimes the violence of black versus blacks is even worse than that of white versus blacks. Look at America. I've lived and moved in America. Every weekend in Chicago, about 100 people get killed. Could you just Google that? How many people get killed in Chicago? Okay, every weekend, at least, you're talking about numbers of almost close to 100. Who shoots them? Black on black violence. The amount of crime of white on black is much smaller. Much, much smaller. But yet everybody is up in arms when the smaller incidents of white versus black, and they believe, white people are so bad, white people are so bad. But you cannot see the black on black violence. It's a fellow black man. It's a fellow black man who will stab you in the back. It's a fellow black man who will accuse you and you end up in jail. A fellow black man who will make sure that you don't run in a beauty pageant. What's that? Okay, this year we are what? We are in the month of August. How many people have been killed? 339. So August is the 8th month. 8 divided by 330. What do you get from that? Just look it up. We'll get to know how many die per month. You have a serious problem, and I think you owe us an apology. I congratulate Mia Leroux for winning. You deserve the crown. But you know what? The organizers of the pageant, you should have had some balls, some testicles on you, and said, no, we will not allow this pushing around to happen. You didn't have any testicles on you. South Africans whose mindset has not yet, you keep saying Ubuntu with the mouth. You don't practice Ubuntu in the acts. That's what you've done to our daughters. Could you bring up for me that, I'm talking about, bring up Chidima Adetshina. Bring her up. Let me see the beautiful pictures of her again. Okay, this is Nayimuli. We needed to move forward. Okay, the story needs to be told. It wasn't about the DNA. I mean, is this virginity testing or DNA testing that the beauty contest is about? It's not. It's about who's bright. It's about who is worthy. I mean, sometimes South Africans, some people can be just afraid of the brilliance of others. You can be afraid of that. Yes, there is some Nigerians who may be crooks, but the Nigerians are extremely brilliant. Adetshina, the president of the Africa Development Bank, who has been making historical changes at the ADB. Amazing. Amazing. But we cannot say we are building Africa. We cannot say that we want one Africa and we continue to be silent. Bob Marley told us, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? No. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them school you. You got a mind of your own. Go to hell if what you think isn't right. Leave us alone. I and the darkness cannot mix with the light. Don't bring this discrimination. We are one people. We're talking about one African currency. My God, we're talking about East Africa, Africa Mashariki. We're talking about COMESA. We're talking about the people, frontline states who fought for South Africa. We're talking about the fact that in our history, I don't know if you guys have read it, the movements of the people, when you look anthropologically in our history, we all came somewhere from Central Africa. One branch went to West, went to Ghana, went to West Africa, Nigeria, and then one branch came down by the River Nile, across Lake Victoria. Some settled here. Some went down to Tanzania. Some settled in Zimbabwe. We call them the ruins of the settlers. Then others went all the way down to the Cape and settled there. Then another came back and settled in Zimbabwe. We're one people. Why would you have this in the mind that you do not want to have in South Africa, fellow Africans? Something is wrong. Something is absolutely wrong. And I think you need an apartheid antivirus, because the system may have ended in the practice, but in the psyche, it's intact. And it leads to a lot of other issues. It leads to this issue of bleaching. Why there is preference and deference given to Africans of lighter skins, because they're closer to the Europeans, they're closer to the masters, they're closer to the white people, and there's more discrimination against people of dark skin. We must address this issue, because I see this discrimination even in others. It's a racial issue. It's a carrying over. The fact that I married a white woman, my wife's parents are from Jamaica and Puerto Rico. Her my wife's parents are originally from Britain, Scotland, and Jamaica. My father was originally from India, and my mother was from Uganda, from Masaka. Okay? I married a white woman in a church where black and white was not allowed. My kids have gone through all of this, so I need to speak this out. We have to end this whole issue of discriminating people, especially minorities. I think South Africa owes all of us a huge apology. And Chidima, Vanessa, I pray that the crown of God will lead you. You've been very humble. You didn't speak out too loud. You kept quiet. You walked out. But you know what? In Africa, the elders speak. And I think this is where we need the son of, the grandson of Zulu, the son of King Good, the Amazulu, King Goodwill the third, the son, now should be the fourth, should speak out and say, this is our people. We cannot deny them. I mean, I was in South Africa and I was impressed how much it's close to our language, Luganda. So many words. Nyama. Where I said, what is nyama? They said, nama. I mean, you ask every, ndlovu, elephant, ndlovu. We are the same people who put these boundaries here anyway. The Europeans. So, it is time to call out this reverse discrimination, racism, and this phobia. You got to stop it. We also have to change the way we think about our colors and our people. South Africa Constitution needs to be amended because for us, reflecting Africa, if you're born among us, you're one of us. That thing that, you may be having parents who are South African, even if you're born in South Africa, that's not African. No, that's not African. No. It's not. It's not Ubuntu. So stop talking Ubuntu. It's time to walk Ubuntu. And I think the organizers of the pageant, you owe Chidima Adetshina a huge apology. That's all I'm thinking. And I pray that Africa and my people will think bigger. We will stop just being quiet when things are done against us. We can be able to speak out and say, no, this is not right. You can't discriminate against our fellow people. God bless you. Hit the subscribe button. If you have a comment or feedback about this subject, please let me know, share. Look forward to more great content on many subjects. And if you have some subject what pastor should talk about, don't mind. I'll be here. I will not hesitate. And I'll bring the evidence. God bless you.